Okay, so since I have to read this off the computer, I figured I might as well do this here in front of the computer on my webcam with my microphone. So it might look a little different than usual. That light back there is pretty insane. That's a little better, huh? Okay, so we're doing this live, even though this is the only way I could record it on here. So technically I'm live, but none of you will be able to see this until I post it. So let's get into it. Now, I do want to say I am going to leave the link to this list in the description box below. So I originally thought I'd make my own list. And then I came across this list on calmclinic.com, and it gives a complete list of anxiety symptoms, which totals up to 241. And I liked this list because they put in here that mostly lists are comprised of the most common symptoms. And so what happens is a lot of people who have not so common symptoms get scared. Oh, wait a minute. What if this is not anxiety? I do have the symptoms that I'm reading about, but I also have other symptoms that I'm not reading about. And so that can actually perpetuate our anxiety, and the cycle continues. So I really found this website and this specific particular article really helpful and pretty conclusive on all of their findings throughout. So let's discuss this. Now, there are all sorts of different anxiety types. They go through them here: acute distress disorder, agoraphobia without a history of panic disorder, anxiety disorder due to a general medical condition, anxiety disorder not otherwise, but they go through it all. Now, I definitely think first and foremost, of course, and this should go without saying, I am not here to be a substitute for a medical professional. You need to make sure you rule things out and you talk to your medical professional, whatever that may be, to make sure you get diagnosed correctly, that it's just anxiety, like it's no big deal the way they say it to you, right? But as long as you know that, then you can start to recover. But anyway, so now as far as I go, I am definitely I am definitely a hypochondriac, and I have obsessive compulsive you know attributes for sure. Not the typical stereotypical ones, like washing my hands a whole bunch, or locking a door when I come in through. I don't have any of those, but I do have obsessive thoughts constantly, flooding my mind and repeating themselves over and over. Basically, if I don't like something, if something irritates me, if something upsets me, if something makes me anxious, my brain becomes fixated on that thing, and then that's all it will do is think about that thing. No matter how much I fight against it, I will lose that battle, right? So ultimately, that is a losing battle. And in more recent discoveries of research, I've definitely found the greatest tool against anxiety is not fighting it, but giving into it. But that's for another video. This time we are here to talk about all the different symptoms and whether or not I myself, someone who has been suffering from this for over 23 years. Now, just because I've been dealing with it for 23 years doesn't mean that I have it worse than you. It doesn't mean that if you've only been suffering it for 6 months or whatever, to just shut up. I have it worse, or I've had it longer. Definitely not saying that. And I'm also not saying you're also going to have this for 20 years. You have something that I didn't. I didn't have access to the information that I have now. And I have put in a lot of time and effort in my life to try to get to this answer. And I do feel like I am getting closer and closer to finally putting an end to this once and for all. So, fret not. I do believe there is a way out. And trust me, as I said in my previous video, I have been to the deepest, darkest regions of anxiety. I have been to the pit of despair and beyond. Any level of, nastiness and awfulness and depression and fear and, all of that. I've been there. I really have. I come off on my channel like I'm Mr. Tough Guy, nothing scares me. Well, maybe not in the movies, but in my real life, lots scare me. Mostly internal. Almost all of it is internal. But let's get into the symptoms themselves. So now it has them categorized and breaks them up, and but we're going to go down from the top here. This one is just kind of the most common symptoms of anxiety, right? So these are something that most of us can relate to. If you are suffering from anxiety, it does say you will likely experience about 50% of the following common anxieties. I guarantee that I suffer from more than 50%. I pretty much, I've already went through this list, of course. I can tell you right now, I have felt basically every single one of these to a degree, outside of maybe a couple that I was like, whoa, that's crazy. We'll get there. But there's one in particular that I'm like, what? That actually can happen from anxiety? But I don't want this list to also give you anxiety and make you think I'm going to have these things happen to me. But I know anxious people, and I can't prevent you from thinking what you think. I just encourage you to try your best, as hard as that can be, to not make these self-fulfilling prophecies, right? Sometimes reading these lists can be very therapeutic. It can be very, relieving because you're hearing stuff that you relate to, but then you hear other things, and sometimes you're like, oh man, either A, like I've never experienced almost any of these. Maybe it is something different, or am I going to have to go through this? I wouldn't really go into that place. All I would say is like, you're lucky you haven't. So just focus on that. So number one, belching. This one, not so much. I've definitely had this to a degree. This is mostly from my experience, from taking in too much oxygen, from hyperventilating, stuff like that. You can take a bunch of air into your gut, and this can cause you to burp. But I don't really deal with this as much. That being said, I do drink a lot of soda water, so I do belch from that, but that ain't anxiety related. Continuing, blushing. My face gets red when I'm anxious, for sure, and it also gets pale as fuck. So it can have one of the other. I can look like I'm dying of heat stroke sometimes. It depends. Usually this is like dependent on if I'm having like a hot sweat, right, or a cold sweat. I can go through hot flash, cold sweat. I can go through both, but I don't know. I don't look at myself in the mirror that much, but when I do obsess over my coloring. And I always think that I look more yellow or something, right? Like, because we'll hear something in passing, and that's like something you really need to understand. What you say around someone like me can be devastating, because it's something that can follow you for your whole, for years and years and years. It's incredible how minimalistic a thing has to be for it to stick with a anxiety-ridden person. Like, I think I might have said this in my last video, but someone once said to my father while she was in his chair, we're both hairdressers, and I had overheard the conversation, and she had said something along the lines of, once there's piss in your blood, it's too late, and you're finished. And from that point on, for like 15 years now, to this day, I'm still nervous to piss. And every time I go to piss, I always think I'm going to see blood and that it's going to be too late. Now, if there is blood in your piss, does that mean it's too late and you're dead for sure? Of course not. That doesn't matter. That's not the point. When it comes to anxiety, it's never about logic. It's never about reason. I know tons of things logically. I can sit here and tell you all of the like factual evidence for why I'm okay and why that would never happen to me, and what the odds are against it and all that shit. That's not the point. It's the what ifs. That's what kills us. The what ifs are the end all be all of people like myself, hypochondriacs, people who suffer from crippling anxiety. What if this person, what if this disease, what if the doctor missed it, what if it's this ultra rare thing that he never saw, what if they missed, whatever. You get what I'm saying. So yeah, breathing difficulties. Now this one is going to be something that we're going to see a commonality to, because there's going to be a few of them in here that I basically would categorize under all the same thing. So I do think that this one we're going to hear again. So I'll just say 100%. Of course, when you are anxious, it's hard to breathe because your muscles tighten and your chest, feels like someone's freaking sitting on it, right? You feel like you're having a heart attack. So yeah, deep breathing difficulties. I think as an anxiety sufferer, you're always having a difficulty breathing, because once you start focusing in on your breath, oh man, because breath is part of your autonomic nervous system, right? So it's something that happens automatically. It's something that you're not even supposed to think about really, unless you manually take over. Let's say you're out running or whatever, and you're like, or of course, like going into a pool and you hold your breath, right? You got to take control there, because if you continue to try to breathe underwater, you'll die. So you can take control of the breathing, but most of your breathing, and we do 20 to 25,000 breaths a day, right? So if something's off, it's really, really going to screw you up. So with breathing difficulties is kind of at the forefront of all anxiety conditions, because more than likely the thing that's causing the majority of your symptoms, outside of negative thoughts and this and that, is improper breathing. That's not all of it, but that is a good majority of it comes from there. And you think, but I'm not breathing weird. You have triggers that you don't even know are there, and you are breathing abnormally. You are doing shallow breathing up in your chest. You're very tight. You're not relaxing. You're not letting, anyways, as I said, different video for the how to fight against this, or not fight against this. But as I said, we'll get there. Next up, chest pain. This one comes mostly with like panic attacks. It can happen to me here and there, when out of kind of nowhere, but I think most people experience just random shooting pains here and there. So I don't think that's anything abnormal. But chest pains, of course, when you're having like a panic attack and you're having the chest tightness and all that stuff, and you start to feel the pain, and you're like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. Someone take me to the hospital right now. I mean, how many times, if you're an anxiety sufferer, especially like a hypochondriac like me, how many times have you thought about going to the hospital? Like on a daily basis? I think now it depends, right? Because our anxiety is not always the same. It's not always a straight line of anxiety. It goes up and down. We have great days. We have not so great days. We have horrendous days. We have days that are mostly great and have shitty endings or beginnings or whatever. There's days that suck all the way through until something random happens and you're in this amazing mood and you feel like you're on top of the world. It's all over the place. I mean, it's, the graph would look like a freaking, seismograph for freaking earthquakes or something. It's all over the place. So anyway, the chest pressure, all that, chest tightness, of course. I mean, that's just muscles contracting from you tightening up when you're scared. And of course, it makes you feel like you're gonna have a heart attack. And I mean, the amount of times that I've like driven over to the hospital and just sat in the parking lot because I'm like, I just got to be as close as I can. And if anything starts to happen, I'm gonna try to walk in there. But they'll at least see me out in the parking lot, passed out, and they can save me or something. You know what I mean? So, or how many times I went out to my car, started to get dressed, and I'm like, I'm going to the hospital. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of times. So you're not alone on that. Trust me, it's embarrassing, it's terrible, but we got to talk about it. We got to be honest with ourselves, and we got to be honest with those around us, because we're not going to do ourselves any good by trying to pretend that we're tougher or cooler than we are. We just are what we are, and it's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm just not okay with having it anymore. Right? I'm okay with what happened. I'm not okay with it continuing to happen. So anyway, next, chills. Oh my goodness, chills. This one gives me chills just thinking about it, because yeah, I get horribly like the feeling of cold where I'm shivering and my teeth are chattering. Whenever I go through a really stressful experience, I start to shiver and shake and my teeth chatter, and I can't, and it's like I'm sitting outside in the snow naked, and I'm just sitting there and I'm freezing, and I get in the shower and I try to calm down. I'm shaking so bad. This has happened to me so many times. And this is something with your nervous system too. Once your nervous system is in that cycle and you've pushed it so much, it can be very sensitive to things. If I get really sexually like aroused and like really like sexually excited, and I don't do something about it, if I continue to keep sexually stimulating myself enough, but without doing anything about it, I will start to go into that mode. I will start shivering and shaking and my teeth chattering. Once I'm in that place, I'm not interested in sex anymore. So my nervous system is shot from this. So chills, oh my God, yes. Concentration problems, a million, billion, jillion %. The brain fog, guys, is real. The fact that I'm able to do this channel, to do videos like this with how foggy my brain is most of the time, is pretty fucking incredible to me. It really makes me think like I really do have the gift of gab, because if I had the leash taken off of me, I'd never stop talking. Right? This is me at like 50% not being able to articulate. I feel like I'm restrained. I feel like I'm handcuffed, right? When I try to talk, I go to say something and like, oh my God, I can't put a thought together. It's incredible. It doesn't seem like it right now because I seem like I'm on the ball. But because this is something I'm passionate about, I'm kind of overriding that currently. But difficulty speaking. Now, this is one that I feel like is one of those things like walking, where once I start thinking about it, I'm fucked. Once I start thinking, because I'm always afraid. There was this House episode or something that I watched where the guy thought he was talking normal, but he wasn't. And it was something neurologically wrong with him, but like inside his head, he thought he was saying stuff normal, but on the outside, what we heard as the audience and what the doctors were hearing was like, and ever since I saw that episode, I'm so worried that like the words that are coming out of my mouth, I'm going to start slurring my speech or whatever. And that's telling me I'm having a stroke. Right. And right now that I'm talking about it, I'm like terrified my mouth is going to stop working correctly. I'm not going to be able to enunciate properly, and that I'm going to start messing up my words and all this stuff. And I'm starting to sweat a little bit right now, right? So you get to kind of see what a little bit of anxiety looks like just even talking about it. So it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. We're not, what are we, fucking 5 in? We have like 200 to go. So we got to hurry up. Digestion issues. I can't hurry up on this one. By far and away currently, my biggest issue. It didn't used to be as big of an issue, but right now for the last, I'll say 5 years, my digestion issues have been the bane of my existence and the absolute sole focus of my daily life on how do I fix this? What diet can I do? What exercise? What this and that, right? And I just cannot seem to beat it because it isn't my diet. My diet can exacerbate it 100% because I'm in an anxious state, because my immune system and, my gut and all that stuff are inflamed from the stress and all of that. What I eat does matter currently, but it isn't the diet that's doing it to me. It's the stress, it's the anxiety, right? So there is no diet that's going to fix it. And I have tried every freaking one of them: keto, carnivore, vegan, you name it. I tried the damn diet. So that ain't what it is. And the digestion issue, I can't even begin to put into words how much this has plagued my life. The amount of gas that I have, the amount of diarrhea, constipation, thin poops, whatever, everything, guys, you name it. It's disgusting. That's another thing. What we're talking about, this isn't flattering. This isn't sexy. This isn't cool. I don't feel awesome, but I do feel comfortable, discussing this with other people who are going through things like this, or talking to people who might know someone like this, so that you can get a better understanding, because maybe they aren't as comfortable talking about it as that I am, But if you have any feelings of digestion issues, oh my God, I feel you so much. So fucking much. God, I can't tell you how much I feel you on the digestion issues, just because it is the thing that plagues my life currently. Before this, it was like all like heart palpitations, heart stuff, felt like I was going to pass out, that kind of stuff. And that was like the majority of it. And it was always, it always depends on what it is. It's the heart thing, right? It's the digestion thing. It's the whatever. I'm always convinced, oh, no. Like, if I didn't have this, if I could just beat this thing, I'd be fine. I wouldn't worry about this anymore. My anxiety would be beaten, but there's always going to be that thing. You have to beat it in a different way, right? You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to eliminate this thing. Something else will pop up. It's the anxiety itself, right? You're not going to beat digestion issues. You're going to beat anxiety. And so that's the thing to focus on. It's not your digestion issues, but definitely make sure that you are doing the diet that works for you, because oh my God, if I just say, oh, well, it's just my anxiety, I can eat whatever I want, oh, I will ruin my life. I will be fucked up for days. It can take me a week or more to recover sometimes, when I just say, fuck it. I'll just eat whatever I want tonight. What does it matter? I feel like shit anyways. Oh, I can feel worse. You can always feel worse. Trust me on that. Dizziness, vertigo, dizziness, the room spinning, feeling lightheaded, all that stuff. I am a black belt in dizziness. I feel it all the time. So, yeah. Feeling ill. I mean, yes, that's all we feel. We feel ill all the time, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, every which way, right? Feeling overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed right now just talking about this. Yeah, I mean, you're anxious. You're feeling overwhelmed is kind of, comes with the territory. So feeling shaky, that's different than the chills, of course. So like, I have a lot of like blood sugar issues. So I think when my body releases cortisol, it can drop my blood sugar, can even raise it, but for the most part, it seems to drop it. And yes, I've had the tests for diabetes. I've went and I've had blood tests. I've had every kind of fucking test you could imagine. I've had the on my heart, back when it was my heart, when I was focusing on my heart. I had the echocardiogram. I had the freaking, everything. You name it, Holter monitor, you name it, my heart got it. Okay. I had the dye injected into my veins, and they took a shot of all of my organs and everything. All that stuff was fine. Everything is always fine. I had a brain scan. I had a CAT scan of my brain. Came back totally fine. Everything always comes back fine. And then you feel like an even bigger asshole. And that gives you relief for like, I don't know, an hour or two. And you're like, I'm fine. Oh my God. Okay, I can get over this. I'm totally good. And then you go home and you're like, what if they miss something? What if? Headaches? No, not really. I don't really get headaches. I am fortunate in this way. I can get them, but I don't think they're anxiety related. I think I just randomly get them here and there if I'm like dehydrated or something. So thankfully, I hate headaches. Whenever I get them, I almost never get them. It's super rare. So I got one that I don't have to deal with as much. Heart attack symptoms. I mean, we already went through most of these, so absolutely. Heart pounding, heart palpitations. I went over this 1,000,000%. Hyperventilation. This isn't something that I'm like aware that I'm doing, but supposedly I'm doing it where I'm freaking out. So I'm like breathing up here. Hyperventilation doesn't have to be like it is in the movies or when your friend's really freaking out in front of you and they're like, I don't do that. But you can be very casually hyperventilating where you're just like breathing very short, shallow breaths in your chest and just being like, you don't even know you're doing it. You don't even know you're doing it. So hyperventilation, it's not something I deal with. I'm not aware of it, but because I know that breathing is a huge cause for what's happening to me, because if I really sit down and I focus on my breath work and I really do it and I do some like Tai Chi or, you know, I do some good breath work, whether it's like, there's so many different kinds of breathing techniques that I have mastered at this point that I sit down and do. And those, when I do sit down and I let them happen and I calm the fuck down, they work miracles. Lack of air. I mean, breathing tough problem. So yeah, lack of air. Lightheadedness. We went over this. Low energy. Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of that comes from like depression and just sitting around the house because you're agoraphobic or you're just afraid to go outside, but not like you don't, right? Some people are agoraphobic and they never leave the house. And there's people who are just like afraid the whole time they're outside. And those are a little different, right? Agoraphobia, usually you just don't leave the house at all. But that kind of stuff can keep you home a lot. And when you're just kind of sitting on the couch, much like depression, much like anything, you can start to create low energy because you're not exercising, you're depressed. And you always got to figure out, that's why a medical professional is important here. You've always got to figure out, you know, is it the depression that's creating the anxiety or the anxiety that's creating the depression? For me, 100% it's the anxiety creating the depression. I'm not a depressive person. I'm just depressed that I have anxiety. I hate it. I want it to go away and I will rule this fucking world. Nausea. Yes and no. Yes, for sure. I get it. It's my least favorite symptom of anything that I experience in my life. I hate nausea with a burning passion. I get it. You know, as much digestive issues as I have, believe it or not, nausea is not a massive one of those. So I am a little bit lucky there, but it's not without its nausea. I definitely get it, but I've never vomited from anxiety. Never once. That's never happened. In fact, I haven't vomited in many years now. I haven't vomited in 3-4 years. It's been a long time. So I don't vomit almost ever. Nausea, like really bad nausea, here and there for sure. A couple nights ago, I had it pretty bad, but I think that was due to I was playing a video game and I think I got motion sickness or whatever. I'll get really bad motion sickness. I do have an eye thing that my a doctor found out, an ophthalmologist that I know looked at my eyes and did find out I had some kind of issue. And I also have an inner ear problem where I'm losing a lot of hearing on my right side. So that helps. That does not help with my balance issues. But the nausea, oh man, the nausea. I hate it. I despise it, but I don't deal with it as much. You know who does though? My wife. Kaylee gets nauseous all the time. She also gets headaches all the time. Those are probably two of her three biggest. Dizziness would be her third, right? Those are her three massive symptoms for sure that she mentions to me. And depersonalization, that one too. Those are like her four main symptoms. And weirdly, I'm like the opposite of her. I don't really get the nausea and headaches as much. I do get them, but just not enough. Anyway, moving on. Nervousness. Come on. Nervousness, anxiety. What? That's literally the same fucking thing. Shaking. That also is the same thing as feeling shaky. So I don't know why that's on here twice. But yeah, shaking. Shallow breathing, we already kind of went over this. Sweating, absolutely. When I get really, really anxious, I break out into a cold sweat like that. And then other times at night, I'll wake up and in night sweats. I won't even be having a nightmare or anything that I'm aware of. But yes, night sweats, sweating. I'll start profusely sweating sometimes when I'm really nervous. Absolutely. Tiredness, once again, low energy to me, basically the same thing. Yawning, this can happen for sure. Like when I do my breath work, I yawn like crazy. It's like my body is just hungry for oxygen. So there you go. Anyway, those are the most common symptoms. So those are the ones that everyone reads and is like, okay, yeah, I have those, whatever. I think everyone anxious has at least a few of those. So yeah, anyway, next up, these are thought symptoms of anxiety. And these are all pretty similar to me. Bad thoughts, crazy thoughts, disturbing thoughts, intrusive thoughts, irrational thoughts, obsessive thoughts, racing thoughts, scary thoughts, violent thoughts, weird thoughts. I mean, I get that they're all kind of mildly different from each other, but I mean, yes. For me, as someone who is very OCD, who is very anxious, who is a hypochondriac, all that stuff. But it's not just that, right? It's not just like, oh my God, I might get cancer. Oh my God, I might have HIV. Oh my God, I might, have heart disease. I might have fucking, who knows? Literally anything you can think of illness wise. Maybe a stray bullet will come through the wall and kill me. Maybe, I don't want to say more because I don't want to get anybody thinking about random shit that they shouldn't be thinking about. Because trust me, all it takes is one person saying something stupid. And it's all they can think about. Anyway, I do want to touch on something here. And this is important because one of the worst I ever struggled in my life years ago, and this was a highly sensitive topic for me at the time because I was mortified and embarrassed and just scared. Scared is a feeling that I'm very familiar with, but this was a different kind of level of fear. And honestly, this is probably the worst it ever was back when I didn't understand what my violent, intrusive, scary thoughts were. I really, really struggled with these heavily. Like when you go to the side of a cliff or you're looking over a building and you have that like horrible fear of like, what if I just jump right now? What if I just jump? What if I just, and then you start to think, not you, but me, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure I'm relating to some of you here. You start to say to yourself like, oh my God, what if I jump? Oh my God, am I gonna jump? And then you start like, your brain starts to be like, what if I just jump? What if my body just takes over? What if I just do it? That's it. It just take 1 second and I'll just be dead. And the whole way down, I'll just be screaming and I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. My brain will go fucking nuts. So if I try to go out on like a balcony or whatever, when there's something, I will get terrified that I'm just going to jump. I have no desire to jump. I don't want to jump. And I stay away from tall buildings and I stay away from heights because I'm mortified that I'm just going to randomly jump for no reason, even though I don't want to do it. I just think I'm going to, or like when I'm driving near a cliff or something, when I'm driving up the mountains, I'm like, what if I just yank the wheel this way? I don't deal with this as much anymore because what ended up happening is then I started getting, and trust me, this sounds terrible, but thank God I went to a therapist and thank God she recommended me this book that changed my fucking life. Thank God to her for this. But I went to her and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tell her this and she's going to call the fucking police. I'm going to be put under, watch or something, and she was like, oh, it's no big deal. And what happened is I started thinking about killing people. Like my girlfriend, she was in, sleeping with me. And I was like, what if I just strangle her? Or like every time she'd walk by me, I'd be like, I'd have a knife in my hand or something because I was cutting up, vegetables or whatever. And I was just like, oh my God, what if I just stabbed her right now? And then I started thinking about like, what her family would think about me and what my legacy would be like. And everyone would just remember me as that asshole who killed somebody. And oh my God, I just became crippled with this. And when she was sleeping, I was like, what if I just throttled her in the night? What if I just strangled her while she was sleeping? I had no desire to do this. I didn't want to do it. I would start crying. I would run like out of the house at night because I was like too afraid to be around her because I thought I was going to kill her or something, even though I had nothing. And people are like, oh, so you watch too many horror movies. Bullshit. It had nothing to do with any of that. So I talked to my therapist about it at that time. And I even made my father cry. This is something that really fucked me up at the time because I told him about it. And he called me in the middle of the night crying. My father, he's never cried. And I've never seen the guy cry in my entire life outside of the when his brother died when I was a kid. He cried then. But other than that, I've never seen my father cry fucking anything. And he called me crying. And I was like, oh my God, like this is, and I was crying because I was so fucked up. And I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. I have to do something, you know. And I went to a therapist and she gave me this book and she's like, as I said, I thought she was going to call the police. She heard that. I was like, oh, that? She's like, oh, that's super normal. Like with your kind of condition, this happens all the time. I was like, wait, what? Really? And she gave me this book. I can't remember what it's called now. If I remember, I'll put it in the description below. But I picked this book up and I read it, and it was everything. It was these people who were dealing with these obsessive, intrusive thoughts, and they were saying stuff like, I would be in the you know, the kitchen with my husband, and I have a knife in my hand, and I would just think about plunging it into him, and I don't want to hurt him at all. I love him so much. I've never had a terrible thought like this before. Am I crazy? This and that. And then once you learn that, and you're like, oh, that's just intrusive thoughts. That's obsessive compulsiveness. Then it just kind of goes away, right? Like ever since I read that book and I was like, oh, this is normal. Like you're crazy when you just fucking do it, right? You're crazy when you want to do it and do it, right? I did not want to do it. I thought my body was going to take control of me. And that was one of the most crippling symptoms I ever had, if not the most crippling. Outside, and then there was another intrusive thought that really ruined my life for a couple of years. And this was my fear that gravity was going to randomly reverse itself and I was going to shoot off towards the sky, that I was going to just take off towards the sky and go out into space or go up, and then the gravity would reverse itself again and it'd come plummeting down and crash into the ground. So I lived for like a year or so where I didn't like being outside. I would like run from place to place to make sure I caught myself under a roof or something that would catch me if gravity reversed itself. That I would be in a room that I could hit the wall and come back. I know that this is never going to happen. I know that I'm never going to deal with that, but it didn't matter. Once the thought's in your head, you can't fucking do anything about it until you accept it and you say, it's okay. It's okay that I'm thinking about doing these things. I don't want to do them. I'm not going to do them. So it doesn't matter, right? We all have weird thoughts. We all do stupid shit, right? We all think stupid thoughts, but someone like me becomes obsessed with them. We become so worried that what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're thinking is going to turn so horribly wrong. So yes, bad thoughts, crazy thoughts, disturbing thoughts, all of those. I've had them all, you name it. If it's a bad thought. Oh, and another thing, like, and I think this is something else we do. Like, I also have that like fear of like random Tourette's or something, right? So like if I'm at a place with like a bunch of black people, I'll be sitting in my head like, oh my God, I'm just going to randomly yell out the N-word or something like that, right? Your brain starts to just convince yourself you're going to do the most horrible thing to put yourself in the most danger, to put yourself in the worst situation, to make your life a living hell. As I said, my brain, once it latches onto something that's horrible, it's like, you know, you literally name it. Any horrible thing, raping someone, molesting someone, doesn't matter. If your brain can conceive of it, if it's awful, and you have OCD like me, you will fixate on that thing and you will not let it go. And you'll be like, am I a terrible person? You're not a terrible person. You're only a terrible person if you're out there doing those things. If you're thinking them and they are of no appeal to you and all you're doing is sitting there rejecting them, then you're fine. You have to accept that they're fucking part of this bullshit that we deal with every day. And I hate it, but it is, honestly though, I don't deal with this as much anymore. Ever since I accepted it, I never did any of it. So all is good. I never had any desire to do any of it. It comes on and you go, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And you become crippled. I mean, like the guy in the corner in a straitjacket, crippled, literally that horrible. I mean, I was never in a straitjacket, but I might as well have fucking been at that time. So yeah, bad intrusive thoughts, violent thoughts, you name it. All right. Moving on. Now these are cognitive functions. Confusion, sure, absolutely. This has to do with like if you're overstressed or this and that, you'll get all the time these days. I pick up my phone, and I'm going to look at it. Little monkey to Luffy there. I go to pick up my phone. How many? I can't tell you how many times a day I go to pick up my phone to do something, and I go to like do it, and then I'm like, "Fuck, was I doing? What was I doing?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I just thought about doing that 2 seconds ago. I've already lost it because your brain is so taxed." And I'm thinking, "Oh my god, I have like early onset dementia. I have cognitive issues. This is my brain goes wild, which makes it worse. And then I can't think because my brain is overtaxed." Okay, delusions. If you like don't sleep for days, I've done this, where I just can't sleep for literally like 3 straight days. If that happens, then yes, absolutely. You can start to have delusions. You can start to have hallucinations, all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, terrible stuff. Dementia, I don't really know what this means. I don't know if that means like a diagnosis, like clinically dementia, like the brain issue, like long-standing, like, or if it's like a small bout of something like that. I don't really know what that means, but there you go. Detachment. This is once again something to do with like depersonalization or whatever. You start to detach from reality. 100% detached from your brain, detached from, and then distorted reality. Absolutely. Disorientation. Absolutely. You just become so detached from everything because you feel like, you're a foreigner. You feel like, you're not even in your body anymore. You feel like you're living in a fantasy world or something. Not a good fantasy, by the way. We're not talking about like, getting on a bus with some centerfolds or something and not that kind of fantasy, right? I'm talking about a dark, terrible nightmare fantasy. Nothing you want to be any part of. Memory loss. Already talked about this. Absolutely. Memory problems. Same thing to me. Symptoms? That's a weird one. Symptoms? Okay, yeah, these are all symptoms. So I don't know. Nightmares? I don't really get nightmares. I had sort of a nightmare last night, like a zombie apocalypse kind of thing, but weirdly, watching as many horror movies, literally thousands and thousands of them, I don't really deal with nightmares all that much. The only time I do is when I eat sugar before bed, and I don't really eat sugar, so it almost never happens. I had a banana last night. I woke up, I was having a little bit of, anxiety, and I was getting through it. I was doing good, but I was starting to have the blood sugar issue. So I ate this like beef stick thing that I bought and a banana, and because bananas are pretty high in sugar, I went to bed right after, and I started to kind of have a little bit of a nightmare. But I don't really deal with nightmares as much, thank God. My life is is already a nightmare onto itself, so my brain gives me a break during the night. It's like, you know what, your whole life's a nightmare. I'm gonna cut you a break here. We're not gonna make it terrible. Mood-based anxiety symptoms. Aggression. Oh, 100%. I can definitely lose my patience. Also, agitation, anger, annoyance. Absolutely. I really, really, really try not to let this happen, especially with the kids. I am not always successful. I can have a short fuse at times, but anytime you're agitated and taxed, you're gonna be more prone to mood swings. But I really do try my best, and I feel like I'm mostly successful, but I do have those moments, right, where we think we're the worst parent that's ever existed in the history of ever, and we yell at our kids in a moment of weakness or in impulsivity, and it's up to, it's debatable on whether they deserved it or not, but you take a breath and you think about it that night, and you're like, oh my God, I'm the worst person that's ever existed. And then the next day you wake up and you go, all right, today I'm going to be better. And most of those days I win and I am better. And then sometimes here and there, my kids are really annoying the hell out of me, pissing me off, usually with good cause, but my reaction is usually not good because I want to be a better person. I want to not freak out. But yeah, anger. I'm angry about my anxiety all the time. I'm so angry. That's probably my most common mood towards my anxiety is just anger. Sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's like, woe is me, sad. But most of the time, I have that like fighter spirit of like, fuck you. I hate you. I can beat you, mother, that kind of things. I like it. I hate that you've ruined my life. I hate that you've stolen 20 years, 23 years of my life. I hate you. And the anger is not good, right? It keeps me fighting, but I'm not sure the fighting is good. I'm a fighter and I can't back down, and it might be my downfall, but at the same time, it's just how I know how to deal with things, and I don't want to let it win, but it always fucking wins. But one of these days, I am going to beat it. Euphoria. This is an interesting one here. Sure, absolutely. There's certain times where I just feel absolutely incredible, amazing. You'll see it in some of my videos sometimes where I'm just, more animated, more excited than usual. And man, guys, I have had so many panic attacks and so much anxiety during videos. You'd never know in a million years. But I have them all the time. I have anxiety during probably 70% of the videos I've made. I'm having anxiety during a good portion of it. But you guys would probably never be able to tell, but that doesn't mean it isn't bad. Just because you're not sitting there in the corner, I've been like that in the corner, but just because you're not always sitting in the corner shaking and weak and all that shit. And when I say weak, you know what I mean. I'm not saying you're weak. I'm saying you feel weak. That right there, oh man, yeah. But anyway, you can look completely normal. Like right now, I can look like this and I could be smiling and talking to you guys and be anxious as fuck. It does not mean I have to be sitting here like, guys, this is what most people probably think. Like, guys. And I'm not trying to make a mockery of myself or a mockery of this or make light of it, because I'm not trying to make that funny. I'm trying to give you guys a visual of like what people, envision on people that are like, meek, and they're curled up and they're in the corner and they're like in the dark and they're shaking and shivering and they can't even look at you and dude, I've been like that, sure. But most of my anxiety is like this. Most of my anxiety is with my clients. And I'm like, talking to them and we're having a good time and I look like I'm all right. And sometimes I'm not as good at hiding it. I'm kind of off, but they can't really tell. Other times they're like, something's wrong, but they don't want to bring it up. Or sometimes it's really bad. And they're like, okay, what's going on? Are you okay? There's this whole gamut. There's this whole range, right? But a good amount of it, I'm usually like this. Honestly, right at this very moment, I'm not having almost any anxiety. So I'll take that. Talking helps. So if someone wants to talk to you about this and they care and they'll listen, take it and talk it out. When you're feeling fucking crazy and you're feeling anxious as all hell and someone has their ear, don't lean on them though, right? Like, because one of my biggest downfalls and one of my biggest issues, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this one, is assurance seeking. That's not what I'm seeing on here, and I don't think it's on here, but that sure shit should be on this list. I'm going to update this list. I'm going to add my own. Assurance seeking behavior is king. It reigns supreme with me. I constantly, if I'm having issues, if I'm dealing with things, if something's happening, right? Like if I have, issues in the bathroom, I'll go to my wife or I'll go to, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like, does this ever happen to you? Does this ever happen to you? And I wait for them and I'm like on pins and needles and they're like, yeah, it happens to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Other people have this going on. If they're like, I've never really had that happen, I'm like, oh no, oh shit, okay. And then I'll like go and contact someone else and I'll be like, you had this happen, right? And they'll be like, no. And you're like, oh God, oh my God, right? So you're always looking for that assurance. And it happens with everything. I do it all the time, all day. If it starts to get a little colder in the room or a little hotter in the room, I'll have to announce out loud. I'll be like, ooh, it's getting hot in here, right, guys? Right, guys, right? And they'll be like, yeah, it is starting to get hotter in here. And I'll be like, okay. It's not me. It's the room. It's okay. right? I won't say any of this shit out loud, but in my head, I'll make it real casual, try to just drop it like it's no big thing. I'll be like, oh, it's getting a little chilly in here. Right, guys? Right? But outside, it's like, right, guys? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, yeah. Inside, I'll be like, oh, whoa, okay, it's okay. Right? I do this with everything you imagine all the time. I reassurance seek 50 times a day. It's crazy how much I do it. So I try my damnedest to not do it. But as I said, it's usually a losing battle. All right, moving on. The development of apathy. Oh, goddamn, yes. Oh, yeah, man. Especially when I was like taking stuff, like, because that's just it. I went to the doctors. I went and I've got the antipsychotics. Oh, my God, antipsychotics. You think, talk about over prescribing. Holy shit. I started with some benzodiazepines. I got prescribed some friggin' antipsychotic. I was like, what am I taking right now? Every one of them turns me into a fat robot. That's what I've always said. Anytime I ever take any of that shit, it turns me into a fat robot. I gain like 15, 20 pounds, and I legitimately do not have any emotion. I am as apathetic as a human can be, right? So I'm just like, you could kill my father, my kids, anything right in front of me. You rape my wife right in front of me, and I'd just be like, oh, well, shit happens. That's the worst. So those drugs are horrible for me. Maybe I needed to like different dose. I don't know. I don't take them. I haven't touched anything pharmaceutical or anything for my anxiety in like 15 years. So, but even without that stuff, I can absolutely get apathetic. I can absolutely get into a place of pessimism and nihilism. And I can just be sitting there, especially because I'm like really heavily engaged in politics. I never talk about it on my channel, but it's something, and that adds to my anxiety 1,000,000%, especially nowadays. Oh my God, the landscape of oh my God, politics these days is anxiety inducing. If you don't even have anxiety, you'll become anxious. You will become one of us if you watch politics now. If depending on what side you're not even depending. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what side you're on. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. You are going to be anxious and you're going to be angry, and it's going to fuck your day up. And I try to stay away from it as much as I can. And sometimes I'm successful, but a lot of the times it's a car wreck or whatever the fuck analogy you want to use. And I just can't look away. I just can't help myself. I get so wrapped up in it. I get so angry. So that absolutely can happen. Anyway, hyperactivity. I mean, look at me. Hysteria. I'm not a woman. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I can get fucking hysterical. Who can't when they're anxious? Impaired communication, same as before, slurred speech and all that stuff, inability to communicate. Yeah, absolutely, that can happen. Impulsivity, we already talked about this. Irritability, isolation, and loneliness. Oh man, we all can relate to this one. You always think, especially in the beginning, I'm the only one. No one has ever felt like this. No one understands me. And then you'll talk to other people like us, and they won't have exactly all the same symptoms, or they won't feel it to the same level, or they won't have the, all that. And you become, oh man, no, it's different. It's different. I'm different. I have it worse. No one's ever had as bad as I have, and you become very depressed, very lonely, very, absolutely. I mean, I feel that one. We all do. Numb feelings. I mean, that's more of like the apathetic stuff up there. Psychotic behavior, very similar to what we talked about before. Severe sadness, that's just depression. Absolutely. Suicidal mindset. This is the one that is the most, hypocritical of like the way that you feel, right? Because I can't think of the other word right now, and it's giving me a little bit of anxiety, thinking my brain's not working. You see how that works? So stupid. But with the suicidal mindset, I'm somebody who suffers so greatly from my fear of death. That is at the epicenter of my anxiety is my crippling fear of demise, right? That is what drives all of my anxiety is the fact that I'm not going to exist one day, that I'm going to cease existing, right? Whether there's an afterlife or any of that stuff, I don't know. and we don't know, and that's terrifying to me, right? So but what's so funny about that, what's so ironic about that, is that on the flip side of that, I get so afraid of death. I get so overwhelmed by my fear of death because I want to live so badly. I will become so upset by that I'll actually think about killing myself. I mean, how ridiculous. How fucking ridiculous is that? That stuff, that's the kind of stuff that drives you absolutely insane, right? So that kind of stuff is super, super frustrating. But yeah, so yeah, suicidal mindset, crazy. Emotional brain, toying with emotions, emotional brain. I don't even know what the fuck. Fear-based anxiety symptoms, being easily scared. No, not at all. This part of me is absolutely dead. So I don't know what that is. Why is this mic? I hope this audio better be taken, man. I will freak the fuck out. But yeah, so being easily scared, no. This part of me is like completely dead. Fear of death or dying, the epicenter. Fear of going crazy, we talked about this. 1,000,000%. Hypochondria, oh my goodness, yeah. I think that's something to do with me. So besides being easily scared, now am I easily scared? Okay, let's take that back. We'll walk those comments back. Am I easily scared by like someone jumping out at me, watching a horror movie, any of that kind of stuff? Not at all. Completely dead inside with that. Am I easily scared by someone in the salon saying, oh, you know, my sister was like 20 something years old. One day she stood up off the couch, and as soon as she stood up, her heart stopped and she died. And every time I've stood up since that day that I heard that, I've thought for a fraction of a millisecond, just for a millisecond. It's just, you know, it's part of my ritual now of when I stand up from any position. If I'm on the couch, if I'm in bed, you know, I instantly think about it for half a millisecond. It just boom, right there in the back of my mind. Is this going to be the time that I get up like that girl's sister and I just drop dead from getting up? So am I easily scared? Yes. Yes. In that way, yes, for sure. But I was taking it in a different way, but I want to reiterate, yes, I am easily scared, but not in the way some people might think. But yes, that is a true story too. I do think about that every single time I stand up. Isn't that fun? And that's been, and these people don't know they do this shit to me. They don't know. They don't know when they said that 10 fucking years ago that they were going to affect my life this much for so long. They never would have said it if they thought that. And if they did, they're assholes. Muscle-related anxiety symptoms, muscle aches, cramps, pain, spasms, stiffness, twitching, and weakness. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have all sorts of aches and pains all throughout my body. Anxiety can mimic every kind of illness you can imagine. All you have to do is start to believe you have something in your body. Your brain will make your body do it. If you start to think you have kidney problems, liver problems, digestive issues, brain issues, heart issues, foot issues, ankle issues, dick issues, vagina issues, whatever, you name it. If you start to focus on that thing, you will become hypersensitive, because that's what happens to us. As anxiety sufferers, our nervous system becomes uber sensitized, uber overstimulated. And because of this, we can feel things that other people don't. Like, I'll tell people I can feel my heartbeat. I don't mean putting my finger on, and there's another one. That's another one that they don't have on here that I don't, is health checking. Oh my God. How many times a day I feel my pulse? Guys, who does this? Who constantly puts their fucking fingers or their fingers on their jugular to feel for their pulse, to see, not that we can even tell. That doesn't even do anything. It just tells us if our pulse is elevated or if it's beating, or if we start to have heart palpitations. I look for it, I hold it, and then I feel like the skip beats, or like it'll stop for like a good full second or two, and I'll be like, Where is it? Where is it? And it's just like kicking back, right? Because it does the extra beat, then it takes that pause, and that pause is like, is it ever going to beat again? Am I dead? Why am I not dying? Why this hasn't beaten in so long? Because that 2 seconds, a second, whatever it is, it feels like an hour. You're sitting there like, where is it? Where's the beat? Where's the beat? Because it does the beat, does the double beat, and then you're like, and then nothing. And then nothing for so long. And you're like, am I dead? Am I dying? What's happening? Why haven't I passed out? Why isn't my heart beating? And then it kicks in, and then you have the 15 clusters of heart palpitations in a row, and then you go to the doctor and they do the ultrasound and they do the freaking, the scans, and they wear the Holter monitor, and you show it to them and they're like, they're all just like, PVCs and blah, 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 right? We've all heard the fucking terms a million times. We've been to the doctors. We know what it is. They're like, yeah, you're adding extra beats, blah, 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 all is well, nothing to worry about. It's not going to kill you. Relax. Right. So yeah. Definitely get some muscle issues. Blood circulation problems. Sure. Absolutely. I get cold feet. This is a very common symptom, but back to the checking of stuff. I check my glands all the time. I'm always under my arms, and you can get armpit pain from if you start to focus on that, right? So I'm always checking for my glands. I'm checking for my gland here. I'm checking for my glands in here. I'm checking for my glands in here. I'm always trying to find them, feel them. I got really obsessed with the ones in my throat for a while, so I started to get like sore throats, and I started to get pain in here. And then I'd look and I'd feel, and then I would go to Kaylee and I'd be like, feel this. Doesn't this feel like a ball? Doesn't this feel like an inflamed lymph node or whatever? And she'd go in there and she'd feel around. She'd be like, no. And then I'd be like, no, really, hold on, feel it, it's right here. And I'd find this little kind of knot thing or whatever, and I'd be feeling it. She'd be like, I don't know, like it feels like, it feels like muscle. I don't feel, oh my God. The amount of times I've had Kaylee listen to my heart, how many times I've had Kaylee feel around in my all my regions that my lymph nodes exist, how many times. It's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting. So I've been there. I do it all the time. You're not alone. Hormonal changes, I don't know. Not that I'm aware of. Hypertension, low blood pressure, or high. You can get high or low. I get higher blood pressure. Kaylee gets lower blood pressure. This is why she passes out sometimes. I have never passed out. I've always felt like I was going to pass out. I probably thought I was going to pass out 785 trillion times, but I never have. Kaylee has. I watched her pass out multiple times now. Once in the hospital where her heart stopped for like 14 seconds. It was the worst night of my life. It was the worst thing I ever dealt with in my life. I thought my wife was dead for 14 seconds. I think it was 14, something along those lines. Really, really bad. The doctor looked at it, the EKGs. She went to see a cardiologist and everything, and they were like, your heart's fine. It's not that. Like, your worry is like passing out and hitting your head or any of those things. But now that she has that, that confirmation that she can pass out, now every time she feels off, she's like, I can pass out because I have. I've never passed out, so at least I always have plausible deniability. With Kaylee, I always feel bad for her because when she goes through those things, I can't be like, babe, you're not going to pass out, because I don't know. But she usually knows. Like, the time she's passed out in front of me, she looks at me and she's like, I'm going to pass out. And when she says that, she's gone within like seconds. So she knows, but man, that stuff, that fucked me up. I had like PTSD from that. So awful stuff. Okay, temperature perception, body temperature changes. Oh my God, yes. I always on the thermometer, I'm always colder. Every time I check my temperature, I always think I'm gonna have a temperature, something. I'm always like 97.1 or something, 97.6, 90. I'm never at like 98.6. I'm not even usually in the 98s. I'm always like a degree under. But that's not abnormal, right? That's just, some people run colder and some people run hotter, as long as they're not like 110, right? No, you're never going to be that high. You'd be dead. But as long as you're not like 101, 102, any of those kinds of areas, you're fine. Anyways, cold sweat, yes. Feeling cold, yes. Fever, No, not. I've never gotten a fever that I'm aware of, but I've definitely felt feverish for sure. Hot and cold flashes, 100%. Hotness, 100%. Hyperhidrosis. I don't even know what that means. I'm sorry. Can you guys explain to me what that is in the comments? I guess I could look that up really quick, but I don't know what that is. Copy, paste. Excessive sweating that's not always related to heat. Oh, hyperhidrosis. Okay. Oh, now that I'm saying it like that, I think maybe I have heard of that. But just random sweating from not hot or cold? Absolutely, of course. Other whole body symptoms, somatic symptoms, as you would call them. Aches and pains. Of course. Body odor? Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a guy. Joint pain, 100%. Numbness all the time. I get numbness in my feet. I get numbness in my hands, especially when I wake up in the night. I've like pinched nerves. I've had the whole side of my chest go numb once. I lost the feeling like I lost my ability to like use my legs once for like a minute, but I went off-roading with my friend a little bit. So I think I screwed up my spine or something a little bit, but that really screwed me up because I was like, oh my God, I can't get to the hospital. Like I can't move. Help. I've fallen and I can't get up. Obesity, no, never. Outside of when I was taking those drugs, I gained a little bit of weight. I've never been fat, but I've been fatter because of the drugs, like maybe 10, 20 pounds heavier than I am. But no, because I have such an obsessive compulsive diet, I never gain weight. Pain, yeah. Pins and needles, sure. Restlessness, absolutely. But I'm doing much better with sleeping these days. Trouble moving, no, not so much. I'm pretty active. A weakened immune system, absolutely. Of course, when you have anxiety, you're going to have a weakened immune system. Symptoms of anxiety that affect the organs. Arterial fibrillation, burning skin. Yeah, I've gotten that. That's when you're like overstimulated to the point where your like skin hurts. Absolutely. Eczema. I've had like skin issues my whole life. I have really sensitive skin, so I definitely get that. Heart palpitations, irregular heartbeat, yes. Kidney problems, I don't know. I don't think so, but I've definitely thought so. If I don't drink enough water, my piss burns, but outside of that, I don't know. Rashes, I get horrible rashes all along my midsection. I always have. If I put on any kind of jock itch cream or anything on them, I get big blotches all on like my sides, in my crotch area, and all this. That comes back all the time, and I think that is from a compromised immune system from being stressed out all the time. So I get jock itch all the time. If I just put the smallest amount of cream on there, like jock itch cream, it'll be completely gone by morning. It doesn't matter how bad it is, and when I say bad, I mean big red thick blotches that are like raised and irritated like crazy. And I get ones here on my back, on my ass, inside my crack, all along my crotch, all across the top. I get them all over the place, and they'll be terrible. I'm scratching them like crazy, and then I put some cream on them finally, and they just go away overnight. It's crazy how well that cream works. So yeah, terrible stuff. Red blotches, I mean, maybe those, right? Skin color changes, depends. Slow heart rate, not really. Spleen issues, not that I'm aware of. Tachycardia, I'm not 100% on that one. I've had diagnoses of a sinus arrhythmia, but not a tachycardia. But I don't know. I don't really. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I get the flutters where it goes really, really fast, where it like kind of drops. I don't get the heart stuff as much anymore because I don't focus on it anymore. Ha ha ha. But it used to like have this feeling where it would like my heart would kind of sink. It felt like it would sink into my chest and kind of just like lightly quiver for like 10 seconds and kind of just shake, and then it would like kick, and then and oh my God, that stuff, terrible. But I've had my heart checked out every single way, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with your heart. So it's always anxiety. So someone be listening to this and be like, you sure you're okay? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Do I think I'm okay? No. But am I? Yes, probably. Probably is what fucks me up, right? All right. Eye-related anxiety symptoms. Here's the one I was talking about earlier. Blindness. What? Blindness? Completely blind? Now, there is a movie with Jennifer Jason Leigh, Eyes of a Stranger, where she goes blind from trauma, and then she, spoilers for the movie, gets her vision back at the end of the movie once she starts to fight back. But yeah, she goes blind from her anxiety, basically. So I guess this is possible. That's crazy to me. Blurred vision, double vision? Absolutely. I get blurred vision when I get anxiety. Eye pain, sure. I don't know if this is anxiety related or not. Eye problems, yes. Pupil changes, I'll constantly look at my pupils in the mirror to see if one's bigger than the other, because that can be a sign of brain damage or neurological issues. See how much we research? We over research on the internet. Don't trust the internet. WebMD will tell you you have cancer always. Everything is cancer on WebMD. It might as well just be called cancer.com. Or youhavecancer.com. Jason Smith has cancer.com. That's what fucking should be called. Anyway, seeing spots. Yes, I used to get this all the time. I went and saw a doctor about this, and ever since I don't really see them anymore. So I don't know what the hell. She didn't do anything, but I guess maybe just her telling me everything was fine made them go away, because we can manifest things. Sore eyes, sure, if you don't sleep. Vision problems, same shit. Head anxiety symptoms, hair loss. I've definitely experienced this. Obviously, I'm not bald or even balding, but the more anxious I get, the more hair I lose. For sure. I'll brush or whatever, especially when I had the long hair. One of the reasons I cut it off is because I was having anxiety all the time from how much fucking hair was coming out when I would wash it. And I was like, oh my God, am I going bald? And then I would see how much comes out of everyone else. I'm a hairdresser. I know how much hair comes out of people. I'm not having any more hair come out of me than normal. But because I'm anxious, when I get some hair and it's like a little tiny bit of it, and I'm like, oh my God, is this too much? Am I going bald? Did I get exposed to radiation? My brain goes everywhere. It doesn't make any sense, but I can't help it, man. Hair problems. I don't know. Not really. Head pain. Not really. Head pressure. Sure, sometimes, especially back on the back of my head. This also happens to my kid, so I pass it down to her. Not sure what the hell that is. Itchy scalp. Yes. Like crazy lately. I've been having an itchy scalp like crazy, but that might be an irritation to some product that I got. So I'm not sure for sure, but as of lately. Migraines, no. Nose related. Nasal tics. I don't know what this means. Nosebleeds. Not really. Runny nose, yes, used to happen to me all the time back in the days when everyone thought I was on cocaine. Which, if now you know who I am, I'm definitely not taking cocaine. Absurd. Changes in smell, taste, stuff like that. But change of smell, not that I've ever really noticed. Okay, mouth-related symptoms. A bad taste in mouth. Yes. Another one here, a metallic taste. I get this shit all the time. A metallic taste, and then I always think, because you Google these things, man, you Google metallic taste in my mouth can be a sign of this, and cancer, and deadly cancer, and the worst cancer that's ever existed. You're definitely dying, and it's happening tonight. You won't even have time to say goodbye to your loved ones. You're fucked. Goodbye. The map says you're fucked. Shout out to Freddy's dead. Awful. So for people who are watching this, I am a horror channel, so any of these comments that go over your head that are relating to horror movies, I apologize. I know other people will watch these videos than my subscribers who know me from my horror reviews. So anyway. A constrained voice. Yes, this definitely can happen. Drooling. Yeah, somewhat, but I just think that's my natural mouth. But it could be the anxiety. It's possible, because your mouth sometimes becomes overly saturated with saliva and you start drooling because of bad speech or whatever. Dry mouth, get this all the time. All the fucking time. All the time. Lip biting, absolutely. I don't know. I'm just sitting there and I'm chewing on the inside of my mouth. I've completely devastated the inside of my mouth from chewing on it. Absolutely. Taste changes, teeth problems. Oh my God. I got 2 missing teeth here, 2, 4, 5 missing teeth. around my mouth. I've had them pulled. I grind my teeth like crazy. If you ever noticed, I have really small teeth in the front, terribly tiny teeth. It's probably my biggest insecurity. So if you ever want to like, hit me in the comments and hit me hard and I'm going to feel it, be like, oh my God, what's up with your ugly baby teeth? It's such a base. It's such a place of insecurity for me. I hate my teeth. It is absolutely the thing that I look at in the mirror and I'm like, ugh. Even though they're straight, they're tiny. They're ground down to little nubs. If you look under my teeth, my gum is right here, right at the edge of my front teeth. So, and of course, I'm not a millionaire, so I can't afford to fucking do anything about it. Dental work is outrageous. I'm not afraid of the dentist, though. I have no issues being in the dentist. I've had 100 friggin' different things, root canals, all sorts of things. I even had root canal without being numbed once because I had to. It doesn't matter, but the dentist actually, weirdly, I'm not an anxious person. I've talked about this on the channel before. I'm not an anxious person, like in my who I am. The anxiety is this foreign invader that's come in and made me who I am, and I hate it because Jason, the guy I actually am, I'm not afraid of much. I'm afraid of the things that you should be afraid of. Fear is there for a reason, right? It's to protect you. Anybody who's I'm fearless, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be fearless. Fearless people will run into the mouth of a lion. You don't want to be fearless. You just don't want to be less because of your fear, right? So anyway, okay, hearing problems, yes. Ringing ears, yes. Tinnitus, isn't that the same thing? But like that high pitched beep, I get that all the time, all the fucking time. Always in my right ear though. Vertigo, 100% all the time. Sensitivity to sound, 100%. I get it bad in my right ear. That's the one I have hearing loss in. If someone comes and yells in it or barks in it, oh my God, it's so painful. Slurred speech, concentration and swallowing, speech patterns. We've already talked about all this stuff, but yes, I get a lump in the back of my throat. That's not on here that I've seen. Here it is, lump in throat. Okay, good. The lump in the back of the throat that you can't swallow and you try to get it out. Oh my God, all the time. Acne, not so much, but I did have bad acne as a kid, but that was just because I was 15. Choking sensations, yes, but not a ton. Face issues, yeah, I mean that's to do with like the rashes and stuff that happens. Flushing, that's the same as before with the redness and whatever. Jaw pain, yes, but I think that's because I have a clicking jaw, like a TMJ kind of thing going on. But that's the tightness from the stress, you clench your jaw and you're so anxiety ridden. Yes, jaw pain, lump in throat, yes. Neck pain, oh my God. Neck pain is physical. That's the worst I have it. Is my middle of my back from the hairdressing probably, and my neck. My neck is always so stiff. All the tension is in the neck. And when Kaylee comes home and she will be sweet enough to rub me, which she does a lot, she's a wonderful wife. She'll get in and I'll be, babe, just work on the neck, just the neck right here, just in this area, right around my spine, right in here. Oh my God, up in like what is this, the C1, C2, this area. Oh my God, I just need that. I need it. Oh my gosh, so much tension. You can press on it and it's just stiff as hell. Oh my God, so much of my pain comes from here. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with why I always feel so lightheaded. I feel like this isn't letting the blood flow through as much. I could be wrong on that, but that's what it feels like to me. A red face. Yeah, we talked about this. Yes, that's once again, flushing, a red face, all before it's all the same. Sore throat. Yeah, I get those sometimes. Absolutely. You can get that from acid reflux. You can get that from all sorts of things. But yes, absolutely. I get sore throats. Good amount. All right. Arm pain, armpit pain, and sweating. Yes. Cold hands. Yes. Finger symptoms. I don't know what the fuck this means, but I definitely get like joint issues or I can't function my right hand as well as my left hand. And I always think that's something neurological. But is it? I don't know. I never had a doctor say anything about it. Nail biting. Oh, you want to see my nails? Look at my finger twitching there. Look at my shakiness right now.
Yeah, I've been biting my nails my entire life. It's the thing that I can't beat. I can't beat this, guys. I've tried. I've done everything. One day, though, one day, a tingling sensation in hands and arms. Yes. Yes. Chest digestive issues, all this breathing anxiety symptoms. Yeah. Angina like symptoms. I mean, anything like heart related or any of that kind of feeling up in here, the chest. Esophagus problems. Yes. Yes, I get a problem with my esophagus where I feel like I get things caught in it and whatever, and it freaks me the fuck out. Whether that's anxiety or not, I'm not sure. Heartburn and acid reflux all the time. Anytime your acidity level rises, it can start coming up your esophagus. Awful stuff. Indigestion, yes. Respiratory problems. I mean, I have times where I have problems breathing, but respiratory problems, not really. Rib pain, yes, definitely. Chest, ribs, oh, this can definitely hurt. That's a lot of like the inflammation of the lymph nodes that I think is there. Wheezing, not really. All right, abdominal pain. This is abdominal symptoms right here, the lower right quadrant right here. I get pain, and mostly from gas all the time, all the time. Bloating, yes. Gas, the worst ever, ever. Depending on what I eat, especially. But if I eat the wrong thing, and even if sometimes the right thing, horrible gas, yes. Stomach cramps, yes. Stomach pain, yes. Stomach problems, yes. Upset stomach, yes. Not as much. We talked about the nausea thing. I don't get it as much, but I do get it, of course. Armpit pain, sweating, back pain, bloating, neck pain, yes, 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 yes. Pelvis area, bowel problems, yes. Constipation, yes. Diarrhea, yes. Fertility problems, no. I have 2 kids. Genital symptoms, I don't know what that means, but my anxiety can definitely make it hard for me to get it up, because of my brain is on stuff. Incontinence, loss of bladder control. Incontinence, somewhat. I definitely get this to a degree, a little bit, not with piss. I don't shit myself or anything. That one's gross. I'm sure you don't want details on that one, but for those of you who do experience it, yes, I get everything clean, and then an hour later, things aren't so perfectly clean. So yes, I do deal with that. Infertility, once again, not that I'm aware of. Irritable bowel syndrome, 1000%. Decreased libido, it can happen, but I'm a pretty horny guy, so not as much. Urination issues, yes, I piss too much, and sometimes it burns. No, I don't have a fucking, STD or STI or whatever. Vaginal discomfort, not that I've experienced, but I've definitely provided some vaginal discomfort. Yellow stool. Yeah, I've definitely had kind of every color, except for like white and black. Those are definitely ones you want to try to avoid. But other than that, yes. And I've had blood many times, but never in my poop, only from hemorrhoids and whatnot. So terrible, terrible. I hate talking about that kind of stuff, but for those of you out there who need to hear it, trust me, most people won't say it. So I'm always waiting for someone to be like, tell me that you get, when you wipe, that after you wipe everything out, sometimes you get poop. Like, I want someone to say it. I want someone to have the balls to tell me that they got that gross shit going on, so that I can feel like, oh my God, someone connects to me. I'm not I'm not alone. I'm not dying. Right. So I'll embarrass myself. Yes. Anyway, cold feet, foot discomfort, leg pain, tingling feet, toe problems. Yes. I've felt all of these things. Sure. As I said, whether or not some of these are related to my anxiety, I don't know. But oh my God, yes. Lethargy, being lethargic, night sweats, sleep problems. Yes. Sleep apnea, I think so, because every time I try to fall asleep on my back, I jolt awake and I can't breathe. So yeah, I think so. I can't sleep on my back. I will wake up and I feel like I can't breathe, or I will go into sleep. I'll get stuck in a sleep paralysis.
and every time I try to fall asleep on my back, it'll happen 100% of the time. Okay. Behavioral changes. Yes. Clumsiness. Yes. Collapsing, fainting. No, I've never had that happen. Self-harm. No, I've never self-harmed. Never had any interest. I've thought about it, right? I've done the intrusive thoughts, but I've never, well, I mean, I drank a lot. That's self-harm for sure. So if you want to count that, which I will, but I've never like cut myself or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I eat a very clean diet and all that stuff now, but once upon a time, drug use, I never did drugs, but I did drink, which is considered a drug. So I guess I was a drug addict technically because of the alcohol, but yes, I used to hurt myself with that, but that was it. And other than that, of course, the anxiety itself is self-harm. Social withdrawal, who doesn't do this? Thirst, yes. Weight gain, no. Itchiness, fibromyalgia, itchiness, yes. Fibromyalgia, no. Increased risks of infection, no. I get over sicknesses, cuts, any of those things are healed in seconds. Like I never get sick. I never have any issues with any of that stuff. So my immune system is mostly good. It just doesn't fight off my fungal shit very well. I deal with that bad. But other than that, I never get sick. Never. I haven't been sick in years. I always feel like not sick. I'm feeling sick mentally, but never physically. I always feel completely fine as far as like, you know, even though a lot of these mimic colds and all that stuff, trust me, I know the difference between being actually sick and the anxiety symptoms that feel like sickness. They are different. They can seem similar, but you'll know when you're actually sick. There is a difference. Let's see. Mucus, paralysis. I get sleep paralysis, but never any of that. Peripheral neuropathy. Not that I'm aware of. I honestly, I need to look up what exactly that is. Shock. I mean, I've definitely felt shock from this. I've like basically been shell shocked. Swelling. Only in the nether regions, you know what I mean? Swollen glands, swollen lymph nodes. I look for them all the time. I don't really feel them, but if I ever find them, I'm glad to hear this. Vomiting. No, never. I've never vomited once from it. So anyway, that's it. That's all of the symptoms on there. We've been on this for an hour and a half. Thank you to anyone who joined me for this. Just know you're not alone. I've dealt with this. I hope this was informative. I hope all of you understand me and yourself better if you do deal with this stuff. Once again, you're not alone. You're a fucking warrior. Okay? This ain't wimpy shit that we're dealing with. Okay? This stuff makes us stronger, even though it makes us feel weaker. It's the exact opposite. Okay? So stay strong, guys. And we can get through this. I know it. I feel it. If I've been doing this for 23 years and I am still optimistic at this point, it's either I'm an idiot, which is possible, or there's something to it. I do believe there is an other side to this. I do believe that we can overcome this curse that is anxiety. So I'm going to continue to keep looking for solutions. I have gotten a lot of good information lately that is helping, and I would love to share that with you as soon as I have the results that I want to, say I've had. But it's a slow process, and the recovery journey is a rocky one. It's not a simple take a pill, do this breathing method, whatever, and it'll be gone by tomorrow. That's just unfortunately not how this goes. This is a, treacherous journey with pitfalls and peaks and valleys, and it's a rough ride, but man, it's one worth taking if you want to get rid of this shit. So, guys, thank you for checking this out, taking the time. And if you do feel like this, if you relate to any of this stuff, I am so sorry. But hey, at least you know
that there's other people out there. Check in the comments below for sure to connect with others like you. And thank you for joining me on my TED Talk. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.